forward on any of that, or is this just an isolated verdict on one where we had clear video evidence? So I applaud the just verdict, but it's hard for me to celebrate based on where the whole thing started. George Floyd still being dead, people since then being dead, and not having overwhelming confidence that this is going to be a step in the right direction and not an isolated incident.
Perhaps all the social justice movements, the NBA, the WNBA, with the community at large are really making an impact. And whether it's, small and creating a tipping point, or whether it's large, it gives hope that the voices, of many are making change, and that we have a better future for our kids. And, it is this, in one respect, it's relieving because you don't have a lot of confidence historically that the verdict would come down and that justice would be served. So, I just hope that this is the type of statement by our justice system that gives hope and precedence for these type of verdicts to be the norm.
Head coach Steve Nash there, along with Stan Van Gundy, and Jim Jackson joins us, who's calling the game tonight. Jim, just a reaction to the verdict and everything that's happened today.
Well, first, just congratulations to the Floyd family in a way where justice was served. George Floyd won't be back. It won't bring him back, but it does bring a little peace of mind that the American system did work in favor of the just. So from that perspective, it's been a great day. I thought the verdict came down and it was the correct verdict, because what was on trial was a couple of things. It was a man who was convicted of murder, but also the system itself, in which allowed him to use his badge as a form of a weapon on a citizen who was unarmed and couldn't defend himself. So it's a lot of things. And I think what you saw with Steve Nash and also with Coach Van Gundy, you saw the question still at arm, because we've seen this in the past where, and Sam, you can speak to this, where we've had some justice before on some things, on some cases, but it went back to business as usual. And the question that you ask yourself, and everybody should ask yourself, where do we go from here? Is the precedent being set that now the accountability factors of our law enforcement agencies across the country are going to be held to a higher degree of standard and to the level of the law? Time will tell from that perspective. Hopefully that is the case. And that's what I take from today, is that justice was served today. Where do we go tomorrow is the question. Unfortunately, there are going to be some events that do come up that bring this back into question. And we have to sit back and watch and see that justice today serves as a precedent for what happens moving forward.
And I think, look, bro, Jimmy's right. It's a small step, Jimmy. But to Stan and Steve Nash point, who I know both, I would say this. I understand what you're saying, but if you guys get involved, if more people like you that look like you get involved and stand up. We've been doing this. We've been crying out for years about how brutally we've been treated, how unfairly we've been treated. Now we need our brothers and sisters on the other side. Stan, we need you to stand up. We need you to be vocal. When you see things or you read things and you know that it's not right and they put a microphone or camera in front of you, talk about it. Speak on it. Keep letting people know that it's not right. And now that we have this verdict, it's out there for everyone. So we all have to be activated. We all got to get involved. And it's not just black people. It's all of us. If we want this country to be what it's supposed to be for everyone, for all Americans, and if we want to set that example, to be that shining city on the hill that President Ronald Reagan talked about, a beacon of light for the world to see. I remember when I was in the 80s, when I was traveling through Europe playing basketball, everybody loved America. Everybody wanted to come to America. Now when I go to Europe, people don't want to come. They think we're violent. They think we're unjust. So now we have an opportunity to live up to what we've always aspired to be. We've said it. We've talked about it. We tell other countries how to do it. But it's now the spotlight is on us, and it's time for us to start living what we've been preaching.
Man, and Jimmy, there's really no easy transition, but we'll shift the focus back to basketball right now for the time being. You're on the call tonight, and we'll start talking about these Nets. So far this season, a franchise record, 31 different starting lineups in 57 games. So we know how important cohesion and chemistry is. It's paramount, especially when it comes to the postseason. So at what point should the Nets be concerned that they haven't had their big three in the lineup consistently?
To be honest with you, Ro, I think there was a concern going into the season when injuries happen and up until now. Now, the concern is a little bit different because you have the talent once the talent gets on the court. There's no question that those three together are a formidable crew. That talent alone, they will be able to win games. That's not a question. My biggest thing, and I think the question for a lot of people, is that this team hasn't developed enough scars yet during the course of the season. The beauty about the regular season, it puts you through a lot of challenges, mentally and physically. How to react when the team makes a run on you. How to react on a 1, 2, 3 game losing streak. In late game situations when a team has made a run on you consistently, how do you react to that? We haven't seen it consistently enough, and the Nets staff and the team hasn't seen it consistently enough to know what that reaction will be. And a lot of times it's tougher to be able to now do it on the fly, so to speak, when the playoffs begin against a formidable foe, even though they may be favored. So is there a question about if this team comes together, can they win it all? No, I don't think so. The question is, to me, is that how will they react in times of duress in a playoff series when they haven't had those scars, when they haven't had those challenges, when they haven't had to react consistently enough? That's the thing that I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully they can get some games under their belt, though, before then. But you can't make up in 8 to 10 games what you missed in the regular season in regard to those learning lessons.
And, Ro, I agree with Jimmy. Look, when you look at this Brooklyn team, we know they're talented. But, again, Jimmy talked about those battle scars. You play 72 or 82 games to learn. You're going to go through some highs. You're going to go through some lows. But through the course of a season, you learn how to grow, you learn how to handle adversity, and you learn how to come together during tough times. And to Jimmy's point, the Brooklyn Nets, they haven't had that, not those three guys together. They've had them in certain combinations, but not those three guys. What do you do crunch time? Where does the ball go? Who has the ball in their hand? Who's going to be the decision maker? Who's going to be at the end of those decisions? All those things have yet to be worked out over the course of 72 games because these guys have not been available. They're going to have to try to do some now with James Harden out there, with Kevin Durant's out. They're going to have to do some come playoff time that no one has done. They're going to have to learn how to handle all these different things on the fly as the playoffs are happening. Can they do it? They have enough talent. They've said they have the mentality to do it. The question is, when those moments arise, can they pull together, come through it, and then work out on the floor who's going to do what, who's going to handle that ball, who's going to initiate, who's going to take the best offensive player defensively. There's a lot of things that they haven't worked out that they're going to have to work out, and we're going to see it soon, Ro, because the playoffs right around the corner.
Yes, indeed, they are. Now,
Hey, Ro, can I say this real quick? Guess what else, Sam? As you being a coach, Steve Nash is going to have to figure it out because now into the game situations consistently, he hasn't had it yet.
Yeah.
So who's going to control tempo? Who's going to have the ball? Who's going to take the shot in a series? He hasn't had to make those decisions with this group consistently all year to find a pattern himself based on past successes or, more importantly, past failures in things that he has inputted in late game situations. So we get a chance to really see Steve Nash in that light as well.
We're going to find out, Ro, who he trusts, to Jimmy's point. In those situations, you got three guys, but you're going to put the ball when the game is on the line. You're going to put it in the guy's hands that you trust the most. It was easy for me in Toronto. Chris Bosh. Easy. No problem. But it's going to be difficult now when you got three guys who are used to having that ball.
We'll move it over to the Pelicans, someone that, has been entrusted when they put the ball in their hands. Coach Van Gundy has put it in Zion's hands. He's responded admirably, playing that point forward position over the last 15 years.
Who do you got between the Knicks and the Nets so close in blocks per game this year?
I'm always going to be leading towards the Nets, and that's simply due to one thing. They play at a much faster pace compared to the Knicks. The Knicks are one of the slowest teams in the league. We see the Nets sitting up in the top 10 when it comes to pace. So simply the back and forth play and the opportunities for a team to rack up the blocks. We have to be siding with the Nets.
Well, it's been fun taking this show on the road. Technology allows us to teleport. I've been your host, Chris Miles, for my guy, Tom Vecchio, and for Tim Doyle. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you.
Ro Parrish here. Welcome to Game Time. Sam Mitchell will join us momentarily. Earlier today, the verdict was reached in the murder trial of the former police officer responsible for murdering George Floyd last summer. Here is Judge Peter Kale reading the verdict.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019.
And this joint statement coming in from the NBA and NBPA, Michelle Roberts and Adam Silver, quote, George Floyd's murder was a flashpoint for how we look at race and justice in our country, and we are pleased that justice appears to have been served. But we also recognize that there is much work to be done, and the National Basketball Association and the National Basketball Players Association, together with our newly formed Social Justice Coalition, will redouble our efforts to advocate for meaningful change in the areas of criminal justice and policing, end quote. And with that statement read, we welcome you into Studio B. Ro Parrish along with Sam Mitchell. A lot of different feelings today, as you heard at the top of the show, the verdict read in the situation with George Floyd. A lot of emotions, Coach. You've obviously been a black man like me your entire life, and,
Yeah.
and you've seen a lot of things happen.
Experienced it firsthand.
Exactly. Also, you spent a lot of time in Minneapolis, so you're very familiar with that community. Just share your thoughts on how you're feeling right now in reaction to what's happened today.
Bro, I don't know how I quite feel. Look, obviously we're excited and happy and pleased that the former officer, Derek Chauvin, found guilty on all 3 charges. That within itself, because no black person alive believed that he was going to be found guilty on all 3 counts. It's a different feeling because for years, ever since I've been a little kid, we've been telling people in the white community how we've been brutalized by the police, how we've been treated, how we've been disrespected. And it's been taken with a grain of salt, like they're overreacting. It's really not that bad. And now with the emergence of video, and then we saw this, and the thing that sticks in my mind, and I watched this trial, is that for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, even after the ambulance came, even after the EMT people came, he still stayed on George Floyd's neck for 3 minutes. And so you feel like it's a turning point in this country, or has a chance to be a turning point in this country. But I don't know, man. Time's gonna tell, because I still don't trust the police. Anytime that red light goes off behind you and you're driving, it's a different experience for black people. And, you know, I said this to you. You and I had this conversation about 4 months ago. My wife and I was pulled over, and we was just treated like dirt. I mean, we were yelled at, screamed at, and to the point to where another person driving behind us, a white guy, got out of his car and came to our aid. And me, as a 57-year-old black man who respects himself and has self-respect and dignity, for another man to get out of his car and have to render aid to me and my wife, you know how that made me feel? That I couldn't. And my wife was holding my hand saying, you can't get out of this car. You can't say a word. But here's this other man out of his car yelling. So with all that being said, I'm pleased, but what's next? When is it going to change? Are we going to have some laws put in place? We're still in this country debating whether black people should have the right to vote. we're still having states like this, the one we're living in right now, coming up with all these laws to discourage people from voting. And to me, my question is, why shouldn't it be a national holiday? This is the most sacred thing we do as a country. We have holidays for people's birthdays, but we don't have a holiday to give every citizen the right to vote in a democracy. So all that being said, we're pleased, but we want to see what next. We want to see reform. We need the police, but we want to see reform in the police department. We want to see more accountability. We want to see a national registry so people like this who brutalize people can't go to another state and get another job and start the same practice over and over again. So as much as we're pleased, we're cautious because we want to see what's going to come next from our Congress, our senators, our government, and then on the local level, what's next? So we're pleased with the verdict, but we're still sitting here saying, what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more work that needs to be done when it comes to this. It is a small victory. You make decisions.
It's got to start somewhere, and we're pleased that this is a start. But think about it, Ro. I'm 57. I can just go story after story after story after story, and you can too, how we've been mistreated and brutalized by the police. So the question next is, what are we have this verdict today, but how is it going to impact us tomorrow? So the next time, if I'm driving home tonight and those blue lights, if I make a mistake and those blue lights start flashing in my rearview mirror, what's next? Are they going to look at me different? Are they going to treat me different? That's the question.
Yeah, this is a situation to where the entire system, and this is just me, my personal opinion, but I know a lot of people out there that look like me feel the same way. The entire system needs to be just revamped altogether. These laws that are in the Constitution were made hundreds of years ago. It's time to take a look at these laws and say, okay, maybe we need to adjust this one and make adjustments to that one. You know, it says somewhere what all men and women are created equal. The laws that are listed in the Constitution and the practices that, you know, the police, some police, not all police, but the practices that they do make don't reflect that we're all created equal. And, you know, you make decisions and there's actions and there's consequences. And for those that wear a badge who continue to abuse what they're doing as far as being an officer,
they should be held to a higher standard because they have a badge and they have a gun. So they should be held to a higher standard than you and I, because we as citizens have entrusted them with our safety. And we're trusting that their training and their judgment in who they are as men and women supersedes their personal feelings. And so they need to understand that's a higher calling. You have the law behind you and you have a badge and a gun. And so we should expect more. And therefore we should demand more.
Indeed.
From people who are entrusted to protect us.
You're absolutely right. There's a feeling of accountability.
And if you can't do it, that's not the job for you. Ro, when I signed up for the military and I got a letter during the first Gulf War that they were going to activate my unit and send me to the Gulf War, I knew what I signed up for. I didn't get scared. I didn't say, oh, I'm too afraid to go. No. Did I want to go fight a war? No one does. But I signed up. This is my country. And I took a vow to defend the Constitution. And I was prepared to go and do my duty. So again, I should not have signed up or raised my right hand and took that oath if I wasn't prepared to go commit the ultimate sacrifice.
Indeed. And I want to give a special shout out to the police officers who do wear the badge and honor the badge. My uncle is a police officer. I've
had one of my uncles a police officer.
Indeed. But however, there are bad apples within the bunch. And again, like you said, they need to be held accountable when it comes to these decisions that they're making that are effectively killing Black people. And that's all I'll say on that, Coach. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just think people don't understand how we feel. We're happy, but we're still cautious because think about the times we're living in. We're still trying to vote. I mean, we're still fighting about our rights.
The basic rights.
The basic
things that you're supposed to just be entitled to as a human being.
You can't give people water while they're standing in line. Then you're closing polling sites and you're doing this and you're trying to make it difficult for people to be citizens. And yet we hear this all the time. Well, if you want change, vote. Well, I would say this. One thing that they've done, bro, they've activated people. No matter how hard they try to make it, we're going to vote. And this is what they've done. They put the spotlight on more local elections. What I've learned is that we got to get involved on a local level.
Right.
All right. The national stuff is one thing, but what's happening in Georgia is happening on a local level. So we're going to need to do our research, and the people who are running for the local legislation in this state, they need to be put on notice, and we're going to start looking at their voting record, at least I am, and we're going to start voting accordingly, and we're going to start supporting people who want to run and make this country what the founding fathers dreamed it could be, equal for everyone,
Indeed.
Under the eyes of the law.
People say it's the greatest country in the world.
Well, it's time for it to live up to it.
Well said. And a statement from the Timberwolves organization and the Lynx. 1 year ago, George Floyd was murdered, causing unimaginable pain and trauma for his family, the Minneapolis community, and communities across the nation. Our deepest thoughts have been with the Floyd family since this unjust tragedy. Throughout our history, racial and social inequalities have been ingrained in our society. We are hopeful that today's decision will serve as a step forward, but it does not ease the physical and emotional pain that continues in an environment where systematic racism exists. To our BIPOC community, the Timberwolves and Lynx remain committed to influencing change, promoting impactful action, and using our platform to help heal and unite in pursuit of liberty and justice for all, in all caps. And reaction around the NBA, Karl Anthony Towns, star center for the Timberwolves, justice and accountability, things that I never thought I would see. There's much more work to do, but this is an amazing start working towards reform this country needs. Kevin Love spent a number of years in Minnesota. Accountability is now trending. More social. Magic Johnson, thank God, guilty, justice has been served. And also chiming in, Matt Barnes, condolences to the Floyd family. This is just the first step of starting to change a broken system. And also chiming in, Reggie Miller, thank you, jury, accountability in all caps. LeBron James also on social media echoing what Reggie said with accountability. So plenty of reaction coming in from former players, current players, everyone on the verdict that was reached earlier today. All right. We do have basketball tonight. There's Blake Griffin for the Brooklyn Nets. He had 6 dunks in 11 games so far this season after having 0 dunks in 20 games with the
Think Blake
Detroit
was saving himself?
Maybe so. That could be said. We're going to talk basketball because there's games to be played tonight. This is one of them. It's on TNT. So we're talking about that. And then there is Steph Curry, who has been making it look Steffordless. Is he an MVP candidate? Coach is going to tell you his thoughts on that when we return on Game Time.
Audible is the best place to listen. And now with Audible Plus, stream exclusive originals, popular audiobooks, and binge-worthy podcasts. The best part? New shows and titles are added every single week, so you'll always get fresh content. Stream all you want, when you want. Try the new Audible Plus, free for 30 days. Go to audible.com today.
Pacifico is a crisp golden lager, brewed for those who know. It's what's behind a label that matters.
Are you researching Little Caesar's thin crust?
Mm-hmm.
Do all the toppings really go right to the edge?
Mm-hmm.
Is that gonna put us out of business?
Mm-hmm.
We still have a bigger bowl at 4?
Mm-hmm.
We're not Big Pizza, we're Little Caesars. The extra most best is thin crust, just $6.49.
Pizza. What's going on, Dad?
Shh. You're in a State Farm commercial. Anything can happen. It's okay to be afraid, but sometimes in life you have to face those fears.
Is that Jake from State Farm?
Don't worry. Things are going to go surprisingly great, like State Farm's surprisingly great rates.
What's up, family?
Uncle Cliff!
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Sports fans are gearing up at NBAstore.com, the official store of the NBA. And the largest assortment of NBA fan gear anywhere, with unique, one-of-a-kind designs by Fanatics and authentic fan gear, the latest styles, for every NBA team and all the players you love. Don't wait, shop now and get today's special offer. NBAstore.com, a Fanatics experience.
We don't want people to get on here and just beat them over the head. You're a pretty man. We want them to have a great time.
Oh, my goodness. There is only one rule. Keep your towels on.
I keep a towel on by myself.
Download new episodes of the Steam Brew podcast, presented by Tissot, every Thursday.
So, James Harden, he suffered a setback in his rehab of his hamstring, and he will be out indefinitely. Will not be able to play, obviously, tonight, and nowhere in the foreseeable future. Steve Nash says we're back to square one, and we will be back when he's back, end quote. And then Kawhi Leonard, this just coming in, he will miss at least the next 3 games. He's going to be reevaluated. This is a right foot. He just missed 4 games before returning this past Sunday. And then there is Steph Curry, who has clearly been the best baller in the NBA. That is my opinion, but here are the facts on the screen, because he has been cooking. 40 points per game, the most points in the NBA. The next closest is Giannis. 78 three-pointers made in 5 games where he scored 40. Steph Curry, in his career, he's had 21 games of making 10 threes or more.
And the next closest person, like 3?
5. And that's the other splash brother, Clay. Everybody else is nowhere close. Clearly a game changer. Steph is.
No, he's changed the way we play basketball.
No question about that. And I'm going to come back around and ask you a question about that. But let's start with first things first. The MVP race. We already know he's the first ever unanimous MVP. He has 2 MVP trophies. But right now, he has the Warriors at 500. With the performance over the last month, or we'll just say 11 games, has he inserted himself higher into the MVP conversation?
In my estimation, he's moved into second.
Really?
The Joker is still number 1 in my book. When you look at, he doesn't miss games. And think about it, as great as Steph played last night, what did the Joker come back and do?
47.
47, there you go. But when you look at what Steph Curry doing, Ro, it's amazing to me when Steve Kerr, who has coached Steph Curry and watched him win 3 NBA championships, and he comes to the podium and he's shaking his head and has a loss for words for what he's seeing, and he's seen this for the last 7 years and he's shocked. That tells you everything you need to know. Look, I've never seen a player shoot with the confidence that he has, shoot with the range and the degree of difficulty. Half the shots Steph Curry take, you're sitting there like, oh, no. Then you have to remind yourself, it's Steph Curry. So what he's doing is magical. The only reason he's number 2 is because they're 9th and the Joker's 4th. And winning matters. And Steph will tell you, a guy that has 3 championship rings, he would tell you that. But to come from where he's come to where people were questioning, was Steph Curry was still a legit all-star coming into this season, the fact that he's taken this season by the throat and shown people that he loves the game, that he missed it. Look, man, if you're Klay Thompson, you're working extra harder. If you're anybody on that Warriors team, because next year, if Steph Curry comes back like this, oh, my God. It's on.
Hey,
it is on.
Steph Curry hit him with that Roy Jones Jr. Y'all must have forgot. This season.
We all have forgot, myself included.
In the lineup, Steph Curry. The Warriors are 28-22. Without him, they're 1-7. Now, let's just look at the big picture. Let's just look at everything. So I think about Wilt Chamberlain. They widened the lane for him. You have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They eliminated the dunk. They had the Jordan rules for Michael Jordan. And of course, Hack-a-Shaq. Now you have Steph. And you talk about these transcendent players who changed the game, just his overall impact on the game worldwide, and particularly this season, seeing everything that's happened with the injuries, how valuable has Steph been this season?
He's opened the game up at a level that we've never seen before because of his range. And then you look at guys like Damian Lillard. Look at all the NBA players today that are shooting from behind the hash mark. I remember when I played, if you took a shot behind the hash mark, even if it went in, the coach would take you out the game because it was a terrible shot. Now you're looking at guys like Damian Lillard and other guys, one dribble, two dribbles across half court, and they're in their range. And think about this, bro. You have to come out and defend that space now. You used to, in the NBA, my old NBA, you used to could defend from that three-point line in, maybe a step above it or beyond it. Now, you got to go way beyond it. When Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and others comes across half court, you got to play defense. And look at the space, how much difficult it is to guard and control that space. So when you look at how he's changed the game, he hasn't just changed it from that standpoint. He's changed the mentality of players because now players are putting in the work. And look at all the great shooters we have in the NBA now. And look at the guys coming into the league. You got rookies coming into the league that can flat out shoot the three ball from day one. And all of this is a direct result of Steph Curry.
It is. And I think back to the All-Star game. Dame Lillard crosses half court. As soon as he is crossing half court, Steph Curry's raising his hand because he knows.
In regular season games in Portland because he's so confident they put the work in.
Yes.
That is a 37% shot for those guys. That's a high percentage for a shot that deep.
Very high percentage. He can shoot that thing. And he also made history. Most consecutive 30-point games, age 33 or older, Michael Jordan, the late, great Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, now number one, 11 straight games. Now let's go back for a second. Hold up for a second, Coach. 1986, Run DMC was raising hell. The Beastie Boys had a license to ill. Jordan did all those things and then some in the Garden. Take a look.
Jordan trying to fake Bird, can't do it. Hits the jumper. 3 on the shot clock. Jordan, basket good and a foul. And a big basket for the Chicago Bulls. Going baseline. Jordan, the basket good and a foul. 58 for Michael Jordan. What a great shot. And a basket and a foul. Jordan ties the game. Oh, boy. 63 points, and you're looking at an all-time record.
A scoring record that still exists to this day. Larry Bird made the comparison with MJ and God. I don't know if that's blasphemy or not, but hey, Larry Legend said it. It is what it is. Also, 112 points, still an NBA record for most points scored in consecutive playoff games. Coach, you watched this game. What do you remember?
Live. Now, I remember when Jordan was sitting on the sideline shooting jump shots with a cast on his foot, with the crutches beside it. And then all of a sudden, it was all this talk about should he play. And he was emphatic about, I'm playing because I'm healthy. And then watching that show, that's when he came alive. That's when everybody became Michael Jordan fans. Because if you played against the Celtics back then, look at that size. There were times that old Boston Celtics team where the smallest guy on the court for them was Danny Ainge, and he's 6'6". They had a front line that was massive, and their whole thing defensively, they would let you drive to the basket, and they would engulf you with their height and size, right? They would shut down the pass lane. But what Jordan did to them was incredible. And I remember sitting there in 1986. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Don't you ask. But I was sitting there in 1986. I was playing in the CBA, and we were watching this game, and we're saying to myself, oh, my God, just look what he's doing to the Boston Celtics defense. He's shredding them. And that was the birth. When we saw that, we knew then that that the game had to change. Your game had to change. You had to get better because MJ had arrived, and it was lights out.
All right, that was 1986. We won't ask you how old you were then,
There you go.
But today is 2021. So let's put this in perspective. Let's bring it to present day. Not how old are you, Coach, but who in today's game could maybe break this record or come close to breaking that 63?
Well, that's several guys. I think just off the top of my head, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Think about this. And I can go on, and I'm sure I'm missing some people. Luka Doncic could do it. There is a lot of, Damian Lillard could do it. There's a lot of players that can go out and get you 60 given the opportunity. And so when you look at today's NBA and you look at the effect that Michael Jordan had on the league and players and getting better, and then you look at Steph Curry and today's current player, man, just think about 5-6 years from now. What's going to be the standard? Because players are going to continue to get better. They're going to continue to put the work in. They're going to continue to become better shooters with range. So, look, man, the sky's the limit for the NBA. And these class of kids coming in today, they're better. They're getting better.
Indeed it is. And the playoff leaders right now, as far as active scorers that have scored the highest that are active, Donovan Mitchell had 57 last season. Isaiah Thomas had 53 back a couple of years ago. Well, the Pelicans have lost 3 straight. However, Zion is debuting his signature shoe tonight. So when you got your own shoe on your foot, that might change your fortunes in the wins and loss column.